So, again, we're at the point where we have the understanding of who's talking, who's doing the writing right now. John is a scribe at this point, where he is actually taking notation of everything that he sees and what the messengers and Yeshua, who are the main ones talking to him, and Yahweh, are telling him to write. So John is in conversation and also in a vision. He's being taken different places and he's being shown different things. So chapter 8, we are now into what has taken place with the seventh seal, which is that the seventh seal, we know we went through all the 7 seals, the 7th seal actually held the 7 trumpets. So in 8, now we're going to get into the 7 trumpets, those trumpets and what they are and what they do. We also went through this, before even the 7 seals, we went through the 7 churches. So there's a theme of 7s as well. And we at this point, the 7th seal again held the 7 trumpets. So the 7th seal was the 7 trumpets. In 8, we see at the beginning there, when that 7th seal was broken or opened up, there was a silence. There was a complete silence in heaven. It says for about half an hour was the length of that. And that's when the 7 trumpets were revealed. Now from the slaughter place to earth, this is really validating the thought of on earth as it is in heaven. So again, it's also validating, and that was a prayer that Yeshua prayed, but it's also validating when we went back again and we talked about the building of the set apart place, that this was truly shown to Moshe. And we'll get into later on, I believe it's chapter 11, where it's going to become even more apparent that something was shown to him. And what he's creating on earth is a replica. Exactly. This is a replica. He's recreating. So let it be done on earth. In the words of the prayer, let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. So this is the whole goal. And we'll see as we get through Revelation that the goal is to get back to the point where heaven and earth are one and the same. Where heaven and earth are one and the same. Because I'll just stop there. So the 7th seal, again, had 7 trumpets. The first trumpet speaks of hail and fire mixed with blood. So the first trumpet speaks of hail and fire mixed with blood. And a third of the trees were burned up and all green grass. So a lot of the vegetation, a third of the vegetation, or it speaks to the trees and green grass, were actually burned up and consumed. We'll see a theme of that as well. The second trumpet says it was like a great mountain burning with fire. And they could see that. And what does that make you think of? A great mountain burning with fire.
Volcano.
There you go.
What time, what point in history does that make you think of?
Wow.
Go back. What did the children of Israel see when Yahweh was given the Torah?
Burning. A burning mountain.
Yeah. So we see that taking place again. And get this part. The great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea. And we actually talked about this before with looking at where Yeshua cursed the fig tree, and then he spoke to the disciples and said to them, if you speak to the mountain and say, be thou removed, and cast into the sea, and it shall be done for you. So we also talked about the true revelation of that, looking at the mountain. We just made the connection here, burning mountain, and how it represents and takes us back to the giving of the Torah, or Mount Sinai, representing the laws and right rulings of God. And he took that, now representing the laws, and threw it into the depths of the sea, into the midst of the sea. And the sea representing not just water, people.
That's right.
There you go.
People.
Groups of people.
And not just chosen people, but all people. But there's some chosen people within the sea. Why? Because we see a representation all through Scripture referring to the chosen or the elect as fish. So now we see what takes place here in Revelation. The second trumpet, that great burning mountain is tossed into the sea. And look what happens. 1/3 of the sea became blood. 1/3 of living creatures in the sea died. And 1/3 of the ships were destroyed. Now here's something to think about. What happens when someone who's obedient to the Torah comes face to face with the Torah? Is it life or death for that person?
Life.
What happens when someone who's disobedient to the law, it could be any law. Let's go to the law of gravity.
That's right.
If you're disobedient to the law of gravity from a 100-story building, what happens?
You will die. You mean death.
Death. Same concept. When you come face to face in your obedience with the law, you receive a blessing.
Yeah.
When you come face to face with the law, in your disobedience, you receive a curse.
That's right.
It's just that simple.
That's right.
It's just that simple. So what happened here is that law, representation of the law, representation of the commandments, the representation of the Torah, Mount Sinai, the burning mountain that we saw here, thrown into the sea in the midst of peoples, many kinds, obedient, disobedient, indifferent, all there. And what happens? A third die. A third die. Why? Disobedience. They came into judgment and they were found wanting. So again, 1/3 became blood. 1/3 of the living creatures in the sea died, and 1/3 of the ships were destroyed. The third trumpet was wormwood. Wormwood fell from the sky. Wormwood was a star. It spoke of it as a star in the heavens that was tossed from the heavens to the earth. And what it did was it went into the waters and made the waters bitter. So it says it fell from the sky and turned 1/3 of the waters bitter.
Right.
And again, some drinking it died. It says men died. So let's flip over to, we're going to hit a couple scriptures real quick. Let's first flip to Exodus 32:20. Exodus 32, verse 20. And it reads, "And he took the calf which they had made and burned it in the fire and ground it into powder and scattered it on the face of the water and made the children of Israel drink of it." Now let's go over to 28, verse 28. And the sons of Levi did according to the word of Moshe, and about 3,000 men of the people fell that day. So number 3. Now let's go to Exodus 15 and 23. Chapter 15, verse 23. And once we get through these couple, then I'll pull it together. And it reads, and they came to Marah, and they were unable to drink the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. So the name of it was called Marah. Now let's go to Numbers chapter 5, verses 17 and 18. Numbers chapter 5, verses 17 and 18. Numbers chapter 5, verses 17 and 18. And it reads, and the priest shall take set apart water in an earthen vessel, and take some of the dust that is on the floor of the dwelling place, and put it into the water. And the priest shall make the woman stand before Yahweh, and shall uncover the woman's head, and put the offering for remembrance in her hands, which is the grain offering of jealousy, while the priest holds in his hand the bitter water that brings a curse. So, 3 parts that we read. The first part that we read was talking about really a function of this law. This is the law of jealousy. This is if a man perceives that his wife has been unfaithful to him, this is the steps that Yahweh commanded to be taken. What we saw in Exodus was the law being carried out, because there was, I think of a better word, there was infidelity that took place. And it took place because when Yahweh called Moshe up to the mountain, Moses was called up to the mountain, they decided that they would still practice their Egyptian ways, and they decided that they would still idolize a false deity. So one of the commands is Yahweh says, I am jealous. Don't have any other El before my face. Don't have any other God before my face. So that's literally what took place there with the golden calf. They created this golden calf, and they wanted to worship the golden calf. Now, when you're talking about being in relationship with Yahweh, if you go after another God, that's the same as being unfaithful in your marriage.
That's right.
Because you've gone after another God outside of Him. You sought after another God. So, what did he do? He did exactly what the law says. He took that calf, ground it up, and put it in the waters.
That's right.
Now, what we talked about in Revelation was wormwood. And this fell from the sky and into the waters, and it says that it created the waters to become bitter. It made the waters become bitter. So what do we see taking place? There's another facet of judgment that's taking place.
That's right.
The law was thrown into the sea, and there were a third that were killed. Then we see wormwood that falls where? Into the waters. And a third of the waters become bitter. Now, again, if you are in right standing, then it simply strengthens you, because wormwood is a cleanser.
Yes, it is.
But what happens when you put too much bleach on stuff?